This is what club to hit on every shot on the golf course. We start at the tee. On the tee, you want to get something in play. Most of the time, we're going to hit a driver, a fairway wood, or a hybrid to get the ball in play the longest distance we possibly can without losing a golf ball. So I'll show you 3 clubs. Each club is going to have its own risk profile. The lower the loft, so the driver is only 9 degrees, the wider the dispersion of the shot, so the more offline it can go. The higher the loft, the less offline it goes in general. So a driver, maybe the biggest head, but the lowest loft. You get smaller heads in the hybrid and the fairway, but the loft increases, making it more controllable, easier to get in play for a lot of golfers. If you're having trouble with the driver, I highly recommend a 2-wood, otherwise known as a mini driver that they make these days. Slightly smaller head and about 14 degrees of loft. I started golf with a 2-wood, and it can really help you get the ball in play confidentially. In the fairway, the club you choose is going to depend on the distance you have into the hole. So if you hit the ball 150 yards with a certain club, that's your 150 yard club you can use from a flat lie in the fairway. The big thing you want to know about your shot in the fairway is that once it lands where you intended to land, what's it going to do? So you want to know your trajectory, so that if you're hitting a high lofted club, it's going to stop quicker. If you hit a low lofted club like a 5-wood, it might just roll on, so you can plan for that. You don't want to go too low loft off the fairway, especially if you're a beginner player. A 3-wood at 15 degrees is going to be really tough to hit. 5-wood, 7-wood, much easier off the fairway. In the fairway, you have a lot of choice because you have the perfect lie. So I'm going to hit a 6 hybrid now for you as well. So a hybrid off the fairway is just going to be so nice and easy to get up. Long irons, if you're a new player, like a 3, 4, or 5 iron, may be tough. That's where the hybrids come into play, making it much easier to hit the ball off the fairway. A shot you encounter a lot on a golf course is a layup shot when you don't have enough distance to reach the green. It's well out of our range here, probably about 300 yards. So what we have to do is get the ball to another position to be able to play another shot. Pick a shot you can hit 9 times out of 10. If you can remember that around the whole golf course, picking a shot that you can hit 9 times out of 10, you're going to have a lot more success. But it also depends on what the hell is in front of you. We have water on the left there and an open space on the right. In our skill level, can we hit it over the water, or do we have to go right of the water? If you don't have the skill and confidentiality to hit it over the water, you have to stay right and short. So I'll hit the 100-yard shot just up to the right side because the water's about 120 away. And that's a shot I can hit 9 times out of 10. What's your shot you can hit 9 times out of 10? Just do that. And that's absolutely beautiful. The other rule you can look at is keep the ball lower to the ground. When you keep the ball lower to the ground on almost every shot in golf, you just give it much more chance of having success instead of giving it more time to take shape and completely destroy your game. So you can even take like a hybrid or a mid iron and you can just chip it up there instead of hitting your wedge that you're scared of. You can just bump it up there with a chip shot. You're going to have a lot of shots from around 150 to 175 yards on the golf course. These shots really depend on good technique and good ball striking to get the ball close to the green, to allow a chip or to hit the green. To take advantage of the 150-yard distance, you want to hit the ball better with better technique and better strike. And that you can only do with coaching. Swingtweaks has launched a subscription service where you get 1 lesson per month with your PGA Pro, who still sends you the same analysis, the same drills, and the same awesome lesson that you always get. And now with the subscription service, you also get 1 face-to-face video call with the PGA Pro. You can use the video call to ask questions about your tweak, get clarity, or go deeper into the next steps on your swing. You can ask about balls, equipment, course management, whatever you want. So Swingtweaks are going to basically be your coach, your caddy, and your fitter all in one. You can ask them anything about golf. They've only just launched this new product, and right now it's only $49.99 United States dollars per month. This is the best way to get lessons and improve, is to have constant feedback from your pro, always involved every step of the way. Now, fairway bunkers are very tricky shots, but there's a little rule of thumb you can use when you get into one. The first thing you want to do is club up. By that I mean, if this is normally your 9-iron distance, hit an 8. If it's normally your 7-iron distance, hit the 6. On top of that, you have another tricky situation where if you go in before the ball, it's going to dig in, and then you're not going to get the ball out. So you want to clip it off the sand. How do we do that? This has served me 25 years. And all I do, an old trick from a dad of a friend, lift your chin up. Just lifting that chin up gives you the feeling that your swing is now hovering over the ground more than normal. Don't dig your feet in though, okay? Because you don't want to get below the ball. There's no point. You want to be level with the ball. And then lift that chin up. There you go. That's my normal shot. Just, I love fairway bunkers. Now, you're not going to hit the ball in the fairway. You're not going to hit it in play perfectly every single time. You're going to go in the trees sometimes. So what do we hit in the trees? The temptation is to hit the shot that the PGA Professional will do, shaping it through a window in the trees. That's not the shot to hit. The shot to hit is a punch shot. Now, a punch shot is the most valuable golf shot you can have in your bag. A punch shot is a long chip shot. You use a lower lofted club. It could be a 5, 6 or 7 iron, but you must check your trajectory so you know it's not going to hit the overhanging branches. Over here I have a 6 iron, and the main purpose of the punch shot is to get the ball back in play. Not to be a hero, but just chip it back in play to a place you can play a very comfortable shot from. And it's just a long chip, okay? Nothing serious. You just set up as if you're going to chip with a pitching wedge or a sand wedge around the green, and you hit the exact same shot, titties to the target, and then you will need to learn to gauge the power so you don't hit it into water and into more trouble. But that just takes time. So we do exact same as a chip. Just get the ball back in play. That's the shot you want out of the trees every time. There's no two ways about it. You want to spend most of your time in this range inside 100 yards. You're going to have opportunities inside 100 where you're going to save your score. That's all good and well, Matty Boom Boom, but what do we hit inside 100? Inside 100 is going to depend entirely on your distances. So at 100 yards, it's very nice to find yourself a 100-yard club, because it's something you can measure to with your rangefinder and hit the ball to that marker and get around 100 into the green. Knowing that club is going to be brilliant. You can go buy a club that will specifically give you 100 yards. Could be pitching wedge, could be 9 iron, could be 52 degree, it could be a 56 degree. Whatever it is that you hit from 100 yards and in, it doesn't matter as long as it works. Inside 100 yards, we want to be really good, remember? So I used my REDTIGER rangefinder, and what I did is I measured 65, 50, 35. The way you find out your club ranges is to take your pitching wedge, your gap wedge, and your sand wedge, and go take a 50% swing on a 100-yard or 150-yard long piece of open turf. Just a 50% swing. It doesn't have to be perfect, but you want to take that 50% swing, the exact same one, each time with 3 lofts. You put down a bag or something like that that you can measure to. You go to where the balls are, you take out your REDTIGER rangefinder and you shoot back to the thing you've left where you hit the balls. Then you get a distance range where those balls are of how far you hit the ball to be able to hit a pitch shot with 3 different clubs, same swing. You've got 3 shots with the same swing. It's not going to be perfect. You're going to have a distance range. So remember that. So this is 65 yards. Let's see how the ball goes from here with a pitching wedge with a half swing. Remember, titties to the target. So that's about 68 to 70 yards. I've hit that. That one is about the same. So we're getting a range of about 65 to 70 yards. It's exactly 65 to 70 yards. So now every time I have a shot between 60 and 80, I have a pitching wedge with a half a swing. Now we're at 50 yards. And at 50 yards, let's say we take a 52 degree, same swing. Let's see what happens. Okay, a little bit shorter than I expected, but also caught a little bit heavy. So if that pin is 55 yards away, that one's gone 55. The previous one went probably about 45. So we've got a 45 to 55 yard range here. So a decent strike here, we're going 45 to about 55 yards. So we can use that shot from a 40-yard shot up to a 60-yard shot. Look at that. A distance range narrowed down 20 yards at a time by changing the loft, not the swing, with a sand wedge. So we get up to about 32 yards there, maybe 33 yards, 36 yards. So what we have there is a 32 to 38 yard range, which we can use on 25 yard shots all the way to 40 yard shots. When you have to pitch it over a bunker to the green, your number one objective is to just not leave it in the bunker and give yourself a chance of holding the green. You need to use higher loft. So I use a 56 degree, some people use a 60, but as I always maintain, 60 degree is a very technical club. 56 degrees, plenty of loft. And the mistake a lot of people make is feel that they have to fall back to try add loft to the club. These clubs have got loft on them to be able to get the ball in the air and a big fat bounce here to get under the club, bounce off the ground and help that ball in the air without you needing to do anything. So when you have a shot over a bunker, don't do anything different. It's the same as any other shot. Just make sure you don't fall backwards because you're trying to add loft. Make sure you just use enough power to get the ball to fly long enough, but use 56 degrees of loft. And all you have to do is just clear that bunker. So that's why we use high loft, so you can be more aggressive with the shot instead of being tentative. As soon as you're tentative with a shot, you go dump it in the bunker. In the bunker next to the green, we use a 56 degree, also known as a sand wedge. As the name implies, it was designed to get out of the sand. They do that by creating a big fat sole. And that sole is the key to getting the ball out of the bunker. So we use the 56 degree in the bunker where we don't even make contact with the ball. We hit 1 inch behind the ball with the sole of the club, that big fat sole. That big fat sole prevents digging into the sand like that and creates more of a skim. So it helps to get the club out the sand. That's why we use the 56 degree from the green side bunkers. 1 inch behind the ball, and the ball just comes out with a little chili pepper of spin. Now the sand wedge that you use will depend on your conditions. This is kind of fluffy but wet sand today. If you play in very hard pan sand, you want something with a lower bounce number. Here we have a 12 degrees of bounce. That's the angle created between the bottom of the club and the leading edge when you place it on the ground, 12 degrees. The softer the conditions, fluffy sand, wet ground, the higher the bounce to be able to skim through the turf. The drier the conditions, the harder the conditions, the lower the bounce to stop that skimming and more clip the ball or actually dig into the turf a little bit because it's so much more difficult to. In general, most people use a 56 degree from the sand, but you can change that. It can be 58 degree, 54 degree, or even a 60 degree lob wedge. I used to use a lob wedge, but now I much prefer the sand wedge as you slowly start to realize it was designed for this shot. Look at that. Oh! The 40-yard bunker shot, 50-yard bunker shot is one of the most difficult shots in golf. And what do we hit from there? Here's an easy solution. Do the same thing that we did on greenside bunker with a 56 degree, just decrease the loft. So I got a 52 degree and a 48 degree. You can even use a pitching wedge if you want to. It's the exact same thing. You just hit that splash shot the exact same way, except maybe you want to finish a bit higher, maybe get a bit more height on your shot. So all you do is the exact same thing I did in a 56 degree in the greenside bunker. This time you just use less loft. Well, you can do that off the tree. That works. Well, my first time. Actually, don't hit the shot much. The best way to hit the shot is to never have it. Avoid getting in bunkers 50, 60, 40 yards away from the hole. I promise that will save you more shots than actually learning how to hit this shot. That's how you're supposed to do it. See, so I finish a bit higher and the ball comes out a bit higher. There's a tasty club called a Smart Sole by Cleveland. There's a few of these kind of wedges that are specifically made for sand, and they're kind of like a cheat code because they have such a big sole that they just get through the turf and they don't dig into the sand. It's the same concept though. You just have to get 1 inch behind the ball and not try to chip it and let it skim off the bottom of the sand and get the ball out. It's like a bit of a cheat club, and that's what you need on most shots, is you want to have something that's just easy to get the ball around the golf course. It just makes it less complicated. I'm standing squarer to the target and I'm just going to skim this 1 inch behind the ball. And the main thing we want to do is just get out in one and give ourselves a putt. That's the number one objective of bunkers. What I always recommend is low lofted toe down chipping. So if, for example, here we could use a 6 or 7 iron because we have so much green to work with, to just land it on the green, roll up, break right to left, get to the hole. The advantage of toe down chipping is that we lift the heel off the ground. When you lift the heel off the ground, you remove some of the bounce, thereby making it easier to just make crisp contact. And the biggest advantage is it works from every lie, whether it's a dodgy lie, a fluffy lie, any lie. You don't have to try and guess. So what we do, we find a little spot to land it on. We pick that spot. We take a 7 iron, something that we know from practice, because you have to practice this. It's going to land and release. So we're going to go maybe a yard or two onto the green. Just like that. Let's see how it does. Okay, my first attempt at the chip, and we've left it to about 3.5 feet. Not too bad. A little bit more aggressive. That one, probably be about the same. Now, okay, we've taken a little bit too much break. Let's put in a dodgy lie. That one's a little depressed. And let's do the same thing. See, so it's a dodgy lie that probably would have been screwed up with a wedge in hand. And we've just put the ball out there to maybe 4.5 feet. But look at the distribution of the balls. If I just move the aim a little bit left, bam, I'm like this far from the cup on every single shot. Practice this, get the rollout and the carry distance ratio with your 7, with your 9, with your 8 iron, and you can implement this the simplest way to chip, bar none. Every situation is different, and so here we have a slightly longer carry onto the green with slightly less rollout. So we have to use higher loft. Same concept though. We move closer to the ball, pick the handle up, we try hit it with the toe of the club with our putting stroke. We even use a putting grip. By that I mean your hands. You don't put putting grips on your 9 irons. And then we find a landing spot about a yard onto the green, and we use that putting stroke to just aggressively get it on. Now this is going to take some practice, but you could see even that was a slightly yippy stroke, but because of the simplicity of toe down chipping, it's going to help anyone. Even if you've got the yips with chipping, look at that, I put it to 2 feet. What a day. You're not going to be able to chip it along the ground or keep it low every time. Sometimes you have to chip over things like this mound in front of us here, it's about 2 feet high. That's when you bring out the high loft, like the 60 degree, very specialty club, or if you don't have one, you can use the 56 degree. It's very easy. What I like to do is just open the face a little bit. It just helps with, you know, to kind of skim through the lie. Trying to go square face with a sandwich, I find is really difficult. So to open the face, I rotate it open and grip it while it's open. I don't twist it open. And then we just do the standard chip while keeping that face open. But be aggressive here. We don't want to be short, because if we're short, we have a chip downhill or a putt downhill. You can see that pin is cut tight on the back here, and we have a downhill leading to the hole. So let's go past the hole. So that's past the hole a little bit. And then the other thing we can do is bring out the 60 degree. The 60 degree you can play pretty square if you want, but I will still always like to open it up just a little bit, just to let it skim off the turf instead of dig in with the leading edge. If it digs in, it's not such a great shot, but if I catch a little fat, the sole of the club will bounce and get through the turf. That we have to be aggressive. Let's get past the hole instead of short of the hole. So that's a similar shot. And then the other one you can do, because we have so much space, is you can just go a little bit hog wild. Check this out. I'm just going to go crazy. Open it way up. Remember, you open it, then grip it, and then just slash right across it. What a lovely shot. On the greens, we use a putter exclusively. You get two kind of putters. You get a blade putter and you get a mallet putter. Often the mallet putter is face balanced or semi-face balanced. Face balanced means it points up to the sky. The blade putter, generally the toe is almost always toe down. It could be very severe or it could be slightly less severe. Conventional wisdom says that the blade putter suits more of an arc stroke and the mallet putter suits more of a straight back, straight through stroke. I don't really know about that. I think it's all on an arc. Just depends how much arc you like. The mallet putter feels more mechanical, feels more like an engineer's club. But the one thing it does much better than a blade is alignment aids. If you look at this putter I made, the Water Player 66AF, you'll see that there's 3 lines on it and there's a little hole in the middle. And these things all help to set your lines and your eyes up to where you want to putt the ball. This is something I use when my eyes go a bit wonky from using the computer too much, because sometimes the blade, which has very short alignment aids, can be a little bit more difficult to align to. That's why I put 3 lines on my bird dog putter that I made. The other thing I noticed with a mallet is a lot of the weight is in the back, or there's a lot more weight in the back than a blade, and that seems to transfer more energy from the back into the ball, and with a shorter stroke, less hit, I seem to get a nicer roll on the ball without having to really slap it as much as I do on slower greens with my blade. With a mallet, it really helps my eyes to line up where the ball's going, and without much of a hit, I get a nice stroke on the ball. Look at that, it feels really smooth, and I don't have to hit it too hard. Sometimes with the blade, which I don't mind, I feel I have to hit it and slap it a little bit, but once I get it right, this one feels like $1 million. When you have an approach shot over water, it's very, very scary. And in that situation, you want to hit enough club to reach the back of the green. If you do get greedy, a lot of the time what happens is you dump the ball into the water and you have to take a drop right in front of you, which is very debilitating. So what do we hit from here? We hit the club that hits the back edge of the green. So what we do from here, we've got about 80 yards and the back of the green is 90 yards. And that's absolutely money. We just want to stay dry. Pick the club that's going to stay dry. No chance of going in the water. The club we hit on a par 3 is going to depend on the distance you hit the golf ball. If you have enough distance to go at pins and to carry bunkers and danger, you use that club. If you don't, that's when you need to start adjusting your strategy and pick a different club. For example, on this hole, we've got to carry deep ass bunkers to get to the green, where if we look to the left, we can see a beautiful open patch. So you have to match your club that you hit, the distance that you hit, to the place that you feel you can hit stress-free with a shot you can hit 9 times out of 10. From this 160 yard hole, I feel like 140 yards should be doable by most people. So we'll hit a 140 yard shot to the left side there to keep it in play. Just pick that club. Forget about the pin for a while. So instead of going pin hunting like a dodo brain, we're going to do what we can. That's the most important part with the what club to hit on every shot. What I can do is hit this ball left side with a 140, 150 yard shot. Now I've taken the bunker out of play, I've taken all the danger out of play that was in my mind, and I've hit something I can do. That's how you do it on difficult, treacherous, scary approach shots and par 3s.